so where did I come across this book? Here it is, St. Mary's Press Glossary of Theological Terms, by John T. Ford. Essential, and that's true, an Essentials of Catholic Theology series. So I was in class, and the professor, it was a kind of a throwaway quote, and I was new in the realm of theological studies. Most of my other studies had been scientific. So it's kind of a throwaway statement to him. He, like everybody in the class, knew about this book, the this glossary, and he just sort of said, "Well, I assume everybody has this because it's a real little staple." Of course,
Right.
didn't have it.
Exactly. Not me.
Not
Yeah.
me, but I can listen and take
Right.
notes, and it really has proven to be a little gem.
Right.
Very, very short and sweet definitions, like feminist theology.
Something else. That's not at all. When was that? When's it copyrighted?
Oh, um,
No?
2006. Like
Oh,
here goes the 5 ways. The 5 ways. You want to talk about something? Here's worth it. One's the 5 ways by Thomas Aquinas. Short
right.
and sweet, and they really get to the heart of the matter. 1, prime mover. 2, first cause. 3, necessity. 4,
Oh,
unlimited cause, and 5, design.
right.
Yeah, boom,
Very,
right there with Aquinas.
yeah. That's a really good, bringing St. Thomas Aquinas down to 5 words. That's impressive.
It is. It's not all. I can't do it. I
That
know
is
I can't.
writing, and that is most assuredly Tracy writing.
Yes. So, purpose of pilgrimage is to desire to encounter God's presence in a special way. So, throughout the centuries, shrines have played a very significant role in the life of the church. Many believe that in a shrine, God manifests his presence in a special way and can respond to the longings to know him. Supernatural events such as miracles, healings, and apparitions, which have been associated with shrines, motivated people throughout the ages to take this mysterious journey of faith, a pilgrimage, to near and distant shrines.
It's interesting because, so much of the medieval literature, right? And even, maybe some more modern literature, but certainly medieval literature really deals concretely, right, with pilgrimages. You think of the Canterbury Tales as kind of an example, but that I don't know when really it ceased to be part of the Catholic mindset. To kind of chuckle as it did it cease to be part of the Catholic mindset once we called ourselves a pilgrim church?
Right, right.
Like,
You
I
get
mean,
kind
how have we become so divorced from this concept of an exterior movement of the body as a way of tangibly entering into a desire for a converted state? I think really is how I would articulate it. How have we? I don't know. I think that we really are becoming in that concept of, we've talked about it before with Descartes. This, I think, therefore I am, right? I think that enlightenment element has driven a real wedge and dichotomy. Not to say that it hasn't always been there, right? I mean, these are primordial heresies, right? The separation of trying to drive a wedge between the dualistic nature of man or the dualistic nature of the man God, right? I mean, Satan detests that because he will never have a dual nature, right? He's only spirit, and he covets what he doesn't have. So there's always going to be that wedge that is driven into that. But it is rather an incredible feat, I think, when you can get a human person to divorce themselves from their body.
That's exactly right. That's right. And I'm afraid, it can be manifest in many ways when we see the degradation of the body, or, you know, or I don't care what you do with it when I'm dead kind of thing. It was just a vessel. Um,
Hmm.
we the
Yes.
disfigurement of it,
Right.
the whether the disfigurement is of embellishing it of it.
Right, embellishing it with excessive, plastic surgery, or the contrary, where you don't try and to improve it, but in kind of obscene ways. Instead, you try and subtract from it. Right. I mean, we really are in and we really are in a challenging time of, and dysphoria really is, I think, actually a truly good word. Right. This whole concept of a dysphoria that has, and I don't think that it is universal, of course. I mean, many of us do not have any, we're not suffering from this. But when the church itself has really downplayed the elements of the sacramental life to, it's like ad reductium, or the reductio ad absurdum, right? Where, as long as the priest says, this is my body, this is my blood, right? That's enough, right? Well, no, I mean, it's not enough, right? I mean, there needs to be more. The human person was not designed for the least, right? I mean, our God is a maximalist God, not a minimalist God. He didn't have to make the Grand Canyon, all that ground underneath the earth, beautiful, but he did. He doesn't have to make food taste good, but he does. He doesn't have to make flowers smell beautiful, but he does, right? He's not a minimalist in anything that he does. And the human person, I think, when we pretend that we don't have to have all of those outward elements to assist us in our interior reality, we begin to become dysphoric, right, or dysmorphic. We become separated from the self, which I think for us, must cause grave psychological harm, simply because we are created to be a unity. And anytime that we don't feed either one, we've talked about this before with the intellect and the appetite, right? If you only feed the appetite, you become grossly obese and sick. If you only feed the intellect, you become arrogant and haughty, right? It's the marriage of the two that keeps the body, the appetite keeps the mind from becoming you know, too haughty, or too wrapped up in its kind of crystal palace, as it were, right? I don't know. But I do think that loss, part of it does come from the fact that so many of the tangible elements of our faith that did sort of disappear post 1960, even down to like sodalities and parish picnics and different things like that, are having substantial impact on the psychology of the individual Catholic.
That's right. Those things weren't imposed from without. They came from within the piety of the soul or the families and so forth. And they found them useful and continued to do those things, the various things you mentioned. And that's how they become custom or tradition in the small t sense, acts of piety
Right.
that that human need is there, and needs to be acknowledged. And this, yes, the reductio, the minimalists, um you know who's had the great one of the greatest impacts on this reduction is, of course, those who are on the lowest end of the spectrum, that economic spectrum, because that used to be where all classes had access to something exquisitely beautiful.
Okay.
Music,
Absolutely. That's right.
music, painting, color, lighting,
Right.
uh, vestments, fabrics, and of that
Yeah.
sort of
Well,
thing.
the incense, right? Absolutely.
It
Yeah.
was just a real feast for all the senses, the smells, the hearing, everything. And of course, when that was has, and is still so much stripped away.
Mm.
Those who have means still have those parts of their bodies engaged, but of course, those at the lower end of the spectrum, those live in different parts of the town or city we do, um, often
Yep,
do not.
often do not. Yeah, and it's interesting too, is not just only the fact, because what ends up happening is that the human body, right, nature abhors a vacuum, right? So, I mean, the same is going to be true with the human person. And if the church does not provide a way to provide things that are beautiful, that are truly beautiful, right? Things that are truly worthy, the human person will accept inferior substitutes. And I think that actually that's one of the reasons why perhaps, call me crazy, but I do think that there is a connection to the loss of incense with the rise of marijuana.
That's right. I No, I don't think you're crazy.
Loss
No,
of,
no, we will.
right.
And that's a fundamental principle of, if you will, the spiritual discernment, spiritual walk. Is that right? You if you do not fill it in with something good and wholesome, seven worse spirits are going to come in and take its place.
That is exactly right. And that's kind of where we are, right?
That is where we're at. All right, friends, let's bring up, as we're talk about church, let's talk about ecclesial approbation in the next episode. Till then, my friends, Fide Sriracha.